I have a very special treat for you. She is remember that? The worst introduction you could possibly have. We do have a special treat for you, though. Tig Notaro is with us. Tig is a comedian who's had a lot of success and then had an incredible breakthrough moment here not that long ago, having to do with her life, her comedy, her cancer, the passing of her mother, all the real subjects of life. It's all in a new documentary.
My career has always been just going steadily up. In early 2012, I was busier than I'd ever been. And then I collapsed. The doctor said my insides were inflamed beyond recognition. A week later, my mother died. And then I found a lump. After everything that had happened, I have cancer.
And here is Tig right now. Good morning to you. The space of time from one to the other, how long was that?
It was 4 months. I had pneumonia, and then I contracted this intestinal disease.
C. diff, yeah.
C. diff, and then I was hospitalized, and then days after that, my mother tripped and hit her head and died, and then I went through a breakup after her funeral, and then I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was 4 months. So it was, when I look back, I still, I can't believe I made it through that.
First of all, how are you now?
As far as I know, I'm doing well. I go to my oncologist every 3 months, and it's called NED, no evidence of disease. So I'm almost 3 years.
3 years out. For you, and the reason to go back onto stage and then deciding to do this documentary and kind of traveling with you for this 1 year period, why did you want to open yourself up?
Well, I mean, the film wasn't my idea. It was my friend Christina Goolsby, one of the directors, came to me, and she'd always wanted to make a documentary, and she said, you know, what if we did this? And I said, sure, kind of not certain that it would go anywhere. And I also was very naive because I thought that I had been through the worst in life, and I just had great things only to come. And I forgot that life gets going, and, you know, good and bad comes along.
But it does seem like every moment you say, okay, this is it now. From now on, everything's going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe that, but I do believe that everything's going to be okay, whatever happens. And
a lot of people know that Tig, in the midst of all of this, does a stand-up at the Largo, at the Coronet, where you appeared regularly, and you basically let it all hang out. And it was entirely different, and it was like a shockwave through the comedy community.
Well, they say you were making history, right?
Louis C.K. was standing back there with a tape recorder and recorded it.
No, he didn't record it. Largo recorded it.
Oh, Largo recorded it.
Yeah.
Brian recorded it. Okay. And this became something we heard about. I used to hear about this thing. And then suddenly it became an album, and suddenly it became like a #1 best-selling album.
Yeah.
And it put you in an interesting case because that was something you could only do once, right?
Yeah.
And people wanted you to what?
Well, I don't know what they wanted from me, but I was at this very bizarre point where I didn't want to do my old material, and I couldn't do the material about having cancer because I had gone through treatment, and I just didn't have any material, but my album was #1 around the world, and there was all this press and discussion about me, and I didn't know who I was anymore.
Well, did it get frustrating too, because all of a sudden you have all this attention for all the worst possible reasons that had happened in your life, right?
I mean, it was very complex. It was an odd time because I didn't know if I was going to live, and I was also very devastated about losing my mother, but I was also aware that people seemed to be touched by my story, and I wanted to be helpful in some way, and it just, you know, it was it was a very odd place.
And also with the best-selling album, you know what is albums? People want you to do your hits. and you weren't ready to do your hits at this point.
No,
You're like starting all over again.
Yeah, I had to, because people were saying, oh, she's the next Richard Pryor, she's confessional and dark and edgy, and I love the darkness, but I also I love silliness more than anything. And so I was struggling with, what do I think is funny? What do I want to say? And so when people come to my shows now, I just try not to worry about what they want or what they expect, and always doing the funniest thing I can do is usually the best bet. But also you're in
a wonderful place where when people come to your shows, they're wide open for whatever you want to do. You know?
Yeah, my audiences have been tremendous.
Tremendous,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, really tremendous. Whether it's confessional or dark or utter silliness, they seem to be on board.
All right. The documentary is terrific. It'll throw you for a loop. Every time you think you have it down as a viewer, you don't. It's going to screen tonight at 8 o'clock at the opening of the Outfest Los Angeles at the Orpheum Theater downtown LA. It'll be available on Netflix a week from Friday. Tig, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.